It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
Have you found that you've had success getting through to folks, or do they have to fail? Like, do they have to try the crypto thing and it not work out before like the light goes on, or are you actually saying no, we know this is true, we have the data, we've been able to back it up? What's been your experience in talking with folks again who have this like aspirational, I want to be a millionaire, I want to move in that direction?
Mm-hmm. Well, it is a hard mindset shift to make. That's one of the hardest things we do in a 7-minute phone call on the radio is try to change someone's paradigm to go, hey, you're thinking about this a completely different way. And for a lot of people, touching the hot stove is that's when they call into the show. They don't call in going, hey, I'm about to do a dumb thing. Should I do it? Most of them say, hey, I just found you guys because 2 months ago I did a bunch of dumb things. Mm-hmm. And so I wish the preventative medicine is really I think going to be so helpful as we get these newer personalities and we have our personal finance curriculum in 48% of schools, and students start to get a hold of this stuff going, oh, debt is not my friend. Debt is a thief from my future. When you start getting kids to think like that, man, we could do some amazing things in our communities and with this generation.
Yeah, I think the position of the person that you're trying to influence determines whether or not they're going to accept the information. And so a person of honor, of character, spiritual and psychological maturity, they can hear it. Mm-hmm. But and that person could be 19 years old, that person could be 59 years old. Mm-hmm. I don't care. But they can be convinced by data, by experience, by a well-crafted, a good narrative of the truth, because the truth will ring in a heart like that. Mm-hmm. But if you're dealing with somebody who's, they're just out of control and they're immature, they're selfish. They're not worried. All they're worried about is how quickly something can happen. There's no maturity to delay pleasure, and I just want to get to Friday and drink my face off, and that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's so many other things in their life that are screwed up that you put a positive, truthful, long-term mentality narrative in front of that person, they're not going to lap it up.
Not going to pay attention.
They're not going to do it.
And that brings it right back, because I think this is such a consistent message for anybody who's actually sharing the right way to build wealth, is that so much in the current world we live in is about consumption, not building. And what we try to be, we eat our own cooking, but we also really share the numbers. And what I try to always get our audience, and I know you do the same thing because it was all in your books, it's all in your broadcasts, is that if you can essentially automate the wealth building process where you're saving monthly just consistently, it's that tortoise and hare that I know you give that example in the book as well. That is the part, but nobody wants to hear that, because the reality of doing the automatic millionaire it's setting up what you're going to do every month, and then as you get pay raises, increasing that, is that it might be 10, 12 years in the future before you actually start seeing critical mass develop. You won't, because 5 years into it, you're going to be like, especially if you're in a year like we are right now, where we're in a bear market, people are going to be like, why am I doing this? But you don't realize that that's the distraction before you get the payoff, because it's very slow until it gets really fast. Because then when people see the rest of it, after you've reached the critical mass, and then they see when you make 10% on $1 million or 10% on $2 million, now we're replacing years of what you might have been the first 10 years of your actual working life is replaced in an instant because of all the hard work you did earlier. But that's not what the young people want to see, because of this consumption society we live in, where people are trying to get in your back pocket with selling stuff. Yeah. That's the thing that I love that y'all are consistent about too.
It's not just young people. It's not what the immature person wants to see. But we're running in, there's some very interesting things happening in the Zs and in some of the millennials as well. There's a segment of them, they're dumber than a rock, but there's a segment of them that are unbelievably mature beyond their years. I mean, we're getting the 19-year-old caller, and I'm like, who are you, you little nerd? It's awesome.
That's great.
It's completely got it dialed in. I mean, they know exactly it's amazing. They're very impressive, very impressive. So it's a maturity thing, and it can be spiritual, emotional maturity, whatever you want to call it, relational maturity, those kinds of things. That enters into whether you're willing to engage this process or not, and whether you're going to take a victim stance and someone else is affecting my life, or whether you're going to be destiny driven, and all of those kinds of things. That really does roll into it. I mean, David Bach talked about what you're talking about 15, 20 years ago. Automatic Millionaire, best-selling book. It's a great book. And I mean, he and I we'd end up on shows together back in the day. You know, I don't know how, that's decades ago, I guess now. But the whole idea is automate it. We used to set it up in mutual fund business 1,000 years ago, automatic draft from your checking account. I guess probably now it's just coming through the Ethernet or whatever, and it's a whole process. But that's the beauty of the 401k is, you don't think about it.